Bell Potter, appointed co-lead manager of the float. Executive Director Charlie Aitken is live for you now from their offices. Charlie, warm welcome into the program. Just before we go into the detail of this, paint me a picture of markets as you see them come December in aggregate, both here and offshore.
Very interesting, Carsten. I think we can ready ourselves for more volatility. It's all about the US dollar. You can see the resurgent US dollar. I think markets will be volatile into year end. You can see this morning Aussie dollar under pressure again, Australian market under pressure again. But then again, interest rates will still be low and the market will find a level. So I think people need to expect volatility if nothing else.
Yes, you've got underweight banks. So who provides the ballast to get us into a zone that retail investors feel committed to, feel that they should put more the way of?
Well, I think it's about diversification, actually, Carsten. I think Australian investors have enough banks, they have enough Telstra, and things like Medibank coming along, a well-known government name, it gives them a chance to diversify. So I think it's not about how the banks and Telstra are trading at the time. I think it's about diversification of portfolios, and I think that's where Medibank will get some retail interest.
It's been said and it's been noted that the pricing mechanism, you want to get this one at a level that's fair, that's sort of a part of the indicative, slightly maybe below the indicative range. What are you picking will be the net outcome?
Oh, well, I don't think we can comment on that yet. We're only in the pre-registration phase for Medibank. No one's actually seen the prospectus yet. I think that, look, if you look at IPOs this year, they've actually been a very good source of capital gains. With the market now down for the year, I think the average IPO is up about 20%. So retail investors are conditioned to now look at IPOs. So I think that's more the point.
What do you say is the biggest distinction between those that have flopped and those that have flown, that have launched this year? What does it come down to?
It really just comes down to pricing, just appropriate pricing, a mixture of dividend yield, a little bit of growth and good balance sheet. It all comes down to balance sheet, actually, Carsten. The ones that have performed the best have generally had the strongest balance sheets, and I think that will continue. But it's also, again, about people diversifying. Australians are looking for new ideas, and most of these industrial IPOs that have come along have been new ideas that people can put in their portfolios with somewhat recognised brands. And if the balance sheet's okay, it seems to get interest.
Compare and contrast the sort of the spectre of legislative risk falling into the health space in the same way that it tends to play out in the United States. So no sooner do you think as a company there that you've kind of got yourself in the box seat than something falls foul, the rules are changed. In other words, it's a ripe for reform sector, Charlie. That's not necessarily a recipe for stability.
Yeah, I think all sectors have regulatory risk, Carsten. I think you can never, really rule out regulatory risk in any sector. I look at it the other way around in terms of things like Medibank and the healthcare sector. I think Australia's ageing population, demographics have them supported. They have pricing power. They seem to be able to lift. The industry seems to be able to lift pricing on an annualised basis above CPI. I think that there's probably higher regulatory risk in other sectors at the moment in Australia, and I think all investing has some form of regulatory risk at the moment, with governments having relatively bad balance sheets themselves.
And yet, unlike Telstra, which pretty much most people would be using, whether they like it or not, in this market, you've got a wide choice when it comes to your medical providers. What makes you believe you can get the hearts and minds of a broad church to be on board with this, when they might look at it and think, well, generally speaking, that doesn't match my expectations when the way they operate in the marketplace?
Well, I think it's a little bit different. Medibank's got about 4 million customers. That makes it a little bit easier because, it's a recognised brand. I also think that when people see their health insurance premiums coming through, they realise it's a good business where the premiums go up most years. And I think that people, once they read the prospectus, would look at that and say, look, that's got pricing power. Maybe it's another way of gaining exposure to a growing sector, a sector with structural growth. So I look at it the other way around. I think that the brand itself and the fact that there's 4 million customers makes the brand awareness already existing, makes it a little bit easier to get to the private clients.
What sort of demand do you pick there will be from the instos, particularly the offshore ones? I'm just wondering how what we've seen in the last few weeks, whether that runs till Christmas or you think this is a short-lived phenomenon.
It depends where the currency is at the day, Carsten. I mean, obviously, everything we've seen in the last 30 days in Australian equities is purely linked to the Australian dollar. Get up any chart of the Australian dollar and the ASX 200, it's just one-to-one correlated. hopefully by December, when the Medibank float comes around, the actual float, I think, hopefully the currency's found a level. If the currency's found a level, you will see international support. But if the currency's falling, like you're seeing at the moment, it is harder with internationals. But remember, Medibank's pitched mainly at private investors, Australian private investors. And, and funnily enough, if the market corrects a little bit further, that actually may improve the pricing. So I don't think it really matters what foreigners do in regard to this. I think that's a much bigger issue for the banks, Telstra, other high yield stocks in the market as a whole, actually.
Great to get your insights, Charlie. Many thanks indeed. Best of luck with it.
Thanks, Gus.